The first step Michael should take: book Sharon into a psychiatric facility, stat. If they're even thinking about using the insanity defense, that would be a solid move. Not that I'm rooting for Sharon to wiggle out of this. Let's be clear, I'm firmly Team Daniel and Phyllis. Now, I know people can sometimes get bail after being convicted or pleading guilty, especially if they're waiting for sentencing or have some cushy turn-yourself-in later deal. But a murder charge? That feels like a whole different ballgame. Of course, with the law, it's always a game of it depends. Generally, at least in federal cases, pre-sentencing release is an option if there's clear and convincing evidence the person isn't a flight risk or a danger to society. Sounds reasonable, right? But here's the kicker. Considering what happened with Phyllis, it's hard to imagine Sharon passing that particular test. In any real-world scenario, she'd likely be detained faster than you could say soap drama. Then again, this is soap law. Logic isn't exactly its strong suit, so who really knows? Hey everyone, welcome back to Radiant Serum. I'm Aubrey, and I hope your day is shining bright. Thank you for joining me. Let's jump right into today's video. Victor has every right to be concerned about Sharon setting foot on Newman property. Let's not forget, he said it himself, she burned down the house. Medication or illness might explain it, sure, but dangerous is dangerous. That said, let's take a moment to appreciate the irony here. In the time since the infamous fire, Victor has had Jack and Billy kidnapped, released a South American drug lord on Genoa City, who terrorized everyone and subjected Phyllis to weeks of horror, paid to have his own son framed for murder, hired Mariah to gaslight Sharon as a ghostly version of Cassie because apparently therapy was too mainstream. And yet, Victor has the audacity to call someone else dangerous. It's almost impressive. The hypocrisy is off the charts. Honestly, if his shiny new ranch house were to mysteriously go up in flames with him and his ever-loyal doormat wife trapped inside, I wouldn't exactly be shedding tears. Now, as for Sharon and her little cottage, yes, it's technically hers, but Victor owns all the surrounding property, so he could absolutely make her life miserable. Block the access roads? Check. Turn her existence into a glorified house arrest? Totally within his wheelhouse. And let's not ignore the PR nightmare Sharon is stirring up. Dropping Roselle's and hopping back to the Newman name is like slapping a big bad publicity sticker on their brand. For once, I can't blame Victor for wanting her as far away as possible. Phyllis absolutely nailed it when she confronted Chance, and her best line by far was, "Did you check Sharon's alibi?" Honestly, she's not wrong. Chance is a certified idiot. This is the same guy who seriously entertained the idea that Daniel killed Heather, and then conveniently left the evidence practically gift-wrapped for him to find. Sure, because that makes total sense. But let's not forget Chance's glaring bias here. The fact that he once slept with Sharon is clearly clouding his judgment. It's like he's allergic to the idea that she could ever do something heinous. Apparently, in Chance's world, Sharon is a saint, and her moral compass is untouchable. Never mind that Sharon was the one who pointed the finger at Daniel in the first place. She knew Heather was involved and fed Chance, just enough to keep him barking up the wrong tree, all while covering for herself. And yet, Chance refuses to connect the dots. Not believing Sharon is capable of murder isn't the same as proving she didn't do it, buddy. Let's also not forget she broke into Phyllis's room, and Chance shrugged that off like it was nothing. It's laughable. Maybe it's time someone checked Chance's alibi, preferably for how he keeps his badge. I'll give Chance this much. He stood his ground with Summer, and for once, he was just doing his job. Point blank, JMO. But the real kicker, when Chance said, "If I had it to do over again, I wouldn't change anything." Oh, really, Chance? That's rich. Accountability isn't your strong suit, is it? Maybe try learning from your mistakes next time, you gorgeous dunce. To be fair, he did find the bloody towels, and at that point, it was reasonable to consider Daniel as the prime suspect. The evidence pointed that way, and there was no obvious reason to think someone else was involved. I'll give him a passing grade for that. But here's the thing. Throughout the whole investigation, Phyllis was practically screaming that Sharon was guilty, and no one took her seriously. Not even Daniel, who kept insisting Sharon was incapable of such a thing. Fast forward to Sharon confessing, and suddenly everyone's acting like Chance should have been investigating her all along. Maybe if they'd actually listened to Phyllis instead of telling her to drop it, they wouldn't look so foolish now. And let's not forget Daniel inviting Chance into his apartment to search. Would a sane person do that if they had bloody towels and a victim's phone stashed in a cabinet? While that doesn't exonerate him, it should have at least made Chance pause and think, maybe I should widen the net a little and check alibis. But nope. Detective of the Year material, this guy is not. And can we talk about the basics? Chance didn't check alibis, didn't pull cell phone records. He didn't even seem to grasp that Daniel had plenty of time to get rid of evidence before Chance arrived. Finding those towels wasn't exactly Sherlock-level sleuthing either. My 6-year-old grandson could have done that. Chance needs a serious demotion. Meter maid duty might be more his speed. I wouldn't be surprised if Claire finds out Summer broke up with Chance and immediately panics that Kyle might go running back to her. Let's be real, Claire doesn't seem like the type to just step aside. If anything, I could see her scheming to fix things between Chance and Summer. She's got that kind of energy, and I wouldn't put it past her to stir the pot. Now, as for Summer, it's not shocking she's sniffing around Kyle again. They've known each other forever, divorced over some pretty immature reasons, and now they seem to have reached a truce, at least when it comes to their history, their current drama, and Harrison. Then there's St. Clair. Sure, she's all sweetness and light, playing diplomat between Kyle and his shady parents. But let's face it, there's zero chemistry here. Trying to force a love triangle between Summer, Kyle, and Claire is a hard sell when there's nothing sparking between two of the players. Honestly, I'm more worried about Ian and Aunt Jordan lurking in the wings. If they step back into the picture, Claire might not even see it coming. The real question is, when they finally make their move, whose side will Claire end up on? Will she align with them, or stay a free agent? Claire definitely has a knack for manipulation. It's practically in her DNA. Just look at how she got Katie on her side. She played her perfectly by asking for advice about handling their mom. Katie bought into it almost immediately, and while we don't know much about Claire's school life, it's safe to assume she picked up a few tricks from Aunt Jordan along the way. Ever since Claire revealed her identity to Victoria and those moments in the psych ward, she's always had a way of saying exactly what people want to hear. But as the show's resident Miss Goody Two-Shoes, she's, well, boring. So what's next for Claire? Either bring out her inner Jordan and let her cause some real chaos, or send her packing. As it stands, the character isn't adding much to the show. No shade to Haley Aaron. She's doing fine with what she's given. But Claire either needs a serious shakeup or a one-way ticket out of Geno City. Let's start with Daniel confronting Sharon. A lot of people were upset about it, but here's my take. Daniel's anger is completely justified. From his perspective, Sharon killed his wife, framed him for the crime, and then went after his mother to top it all off. Under those circumstances, who wouldn't feel the need to confront her? That said, the way the scene was staged left a bad taste. Having Nick hold Daniel back as if he was about to physically attack Sharon, that's a hard no. Not only would that never be in character for Daniel, but it also felt unsettling. Sharon deserves accountability, sure, but not like that. A questionable choice, to say the least. Now, about Sharon. Yes, she's had issues with her meds, but she's also had lucid moments. During those times, she should have been calling her doctor or heading to the hospital for blood work, not spiraling further into chaos. It's one thing to be struggling. It's another to completely ignore steps that could have helped prevent this disaster. And what about Sally? Maybe she could move into the apartment above Crimson Lights, assuming Sharon doesn't decide to stay there herself. After all, you know Victor's going to have something to say about Sharon's recent behavior, not to mention her continued use of the Newman name. Victor rarely lets things slide, especially when his brand is involved. Of course, this is Victor we're talking about. When was the last time a storyline let him lose at anything? If Sharon tries to stand her ground, I'd expect nothing less than Victor swooping in to crush her plans. Because, apparently, in the Y and R universe, Victor always has to win. Roll_eyes. As for the broader twists, it'll be interesting to see how Jordan and Ian are finally exposed. Will they trip themselves up, or will someone, perhaps even Claire, uncover their schemes? One thing's for sure, the writers need to tread carefully with these threads. The last thing we need is another plotline that feels offensive or completely out of character. But then again, it's Y and R, anything can happen. Big news! In a recent interview with Soap Opera Digest, head writer Josh Griffith confirmed that we're getting a Sally-Billy or Phyllis love triangle. But seriously, why Phyllis and Billy? Just because they work together? The chemistry there seems forced at best. Meanwhile, Sally and Billy's pairing is already in motion, but let's call it what it is, pure hypocrisy. Both of them completely wrote off Adam and Chelsea over their one-night stand, acting like it was the ultimate betrayal. Yet here they are, walking straight into a similar situation without a second thought. Classic soap opera double standards. Why does Lucy keep flipping between calling her grandmother Phyllis and then switching to Grandma at the hospital? It drove me absolutely crazy hearing her go back and forth. One of my biggest pet peeves with Y and R is how inconsistent the characters are when addressing their relatives. It's not just Lucy either. Sometimes Maria calls Sharon Mom, but other times she just says Sharon. And don't even get me started on other awkward moments, like Phyllis talking to Summer and suddenly saying, "Have you asked Nick?" instead of, "Have you asked your dad?" It's like they forget the characters' relationships mid-scene. With Lucy, though, I think there's a bit of logic to it. She usually calls her Phyllis when talking directly to her and refers to her as Grandma when speaking about her to others. But with Phyllis in the hospital, emotions are high, and I can see why Lucy might slip into calling her Grandma in such a vulnerable moment. Still, the inconsistency can be distracting. Hopefully, the writers clean this up, if not for continuity's sake, then for the sake of our sanity. I've got to hand it to Sally. I know it's not Connor's fault, but I don't think I'd have the patience to stay close to my ex's kid after everything his father has put her through. Sally's handling it better than most would. Connor is just a kid, and he clearly admires her, which makes it hard to blame him. Still, I can't help but worry. Are we seeing the start of a pattern? Is Connor going to form these attachments with every woman Adam dates? And as for Phyllis, can we give her a break? She deserts her own man, not one she has to share or recycle from someone else's storyline. Honestly, I'm not seeing any sexual energy between her and Billy. The whole thing feels like same old, same old. Where's the excitement? Where's the spark? I just loved that look on Adam's face. Absolutely priceless. Someone needs to put that on NM's front page if they dare. Anyway, I'm not particularly a fan of either man, and I'm not sold on all the partner-swapping drama. But in my humble opinion, Sally sleeping with Billy is kind of a low move. But hey, this is Soapland, so it is what it is. I'm sure Adam really wouldn't like seeing Sally with anyone, but Billy? That's just the cherry on top of the cake. Sally is a beautiful, talented woman, and I've got to admit, I'm kind of enjoying her with Billy right now. The look on Adam's face was everything, and I can't wait to see what Monday's episode brings when Adam sends champagne to their table, only for Victor to be subjected to a long monologue about why Adam thinks it's all just revenge sex. Classic soap drama. Honestly, I like Billy and Sally together. They both need some fun in their lives. It feels like no one on this show is having any fun lately. I miss the days when there were parties, events, and actual celebrations. Abby's wedding made me feel nostalgic for those lighter moments. Who are you rooting for right now? Right now, I have to admit, Billy and Sally actually seem like they could be a solid couple. There's some chemistry there, and they both deserve a little fun in their lives. As for Audra, I'll root for her, but only if she dials down the ego trip and stops acting like she's the one who deserved glissade. That said, I do kind of like her with Nate. Business-wise, I'm really hoping Billy can get Abbott Chancellor back. Kyle should stay far away from Jabad unless he's down for a much lower-level role. That whole power struggle with him and Jack is getting old. Now, about Phyllis and Sharon. Phyllis did accuse Sharon of killing Heather, but let's not forget, right now on the show, no one knows about Jordan and Ian's involvement, so we can't say for certain that Sharon didn't do it. But it'll all come out eventually. I do think Phyllis will play a huge role in proving that Sharon didn't kill Heather. However, Sharon's still guilty of a lot of other things, and she definitely needs to apologize to Daniel, Lucy, and Phyllis for everything she's put that family through. As much as Phyllis believes Sharon murdered Heather in cold blood, I think we can all agree Sharon is guilty of some serious stuff. She didn't kill Heather, but she's far from innocent. On a positive note, I'm really rooting for Sharon right now. She has Michael, a great lawyer, working on her side. Honestly, he's way better than Christine, so I'm glad she has him in her corner. Phyllis thinks Sharon tried to kill her, and Adam sees Billy and Sally kiss after they spoiler. Phyllis just woke up from her coma, so it makes sense that she's starting to piece everything together. In her mind, Sharon did some truly horrible things. Now that she remembers the texts from Sharon, it's clear that Phyllis is suspicious, but with her phone likely destroyed in the car fire, there's no proof. The big question is, will Nick go to Sharon, look at her phone, and ask her about the texts? Or, knowing how things tend to go, will he encourage her to delete them to cover things up? Also, when Victor was talking to Nick and Adam, it was obvious he didn't want the Newmans connected to Sharon's mess, especially since it's bound to hit the news soon. I couldn't help but wonder, why didn't Adam ask, how do you want Newman Media to cover this? That seems like something Victor would want to control. Phyllis really made it easy for Ian and Jordan to pin everything on Sharon. For weeks, all she did was run her mouth, insisting that Sharon killed Heather. Meanwhile, Sharon's family, including Daniel and Summer, are hurting because Phyllis always has to be the one to save the day, even when it's the wrong time or place. I can't help but wonder what Ian's endgame is. It seems like he's targeting Mariah, trying to separate Sharon from her family. This guy is beyond disgusting. He raised Mariah from infancy, and then had the nerve to want to marry her. That's sick. It's clear Ian and Jordan are the true culprits here, but instead of this storyline wrapping up, it just keeps dragging on. Everyone seems to be so focused on Phyllis when, in reality, she didn't have any idea about Ian and Jordan's involvement. No one did. Yes, Phyllis was right about Sharon being guilty, even if she didn't directly kill Heather. Sharon definitely had a hand in it. She covered up the body and framed Daniel to take the fall. That being said, I don't understand all the hate for Phyllis. Wouldn't you defend your child if you thought they were being framed? Phyllis did what any parent would do. She called out Sharon for what seemed like a pretty clear case of guilt. I would have done the same. As for Daniel and Summer, they're the ones suffering the most because of Sharon's actions. Sharon framed Daniel, and that's why he ended up arrested. But it wasn't Phyllis who brought Ian and Jordan back into town, nor was it Phyllis's idea to put an imposter in Jordan's place in prison. Ian and Jordan were behind that all along. Sharon's cover-up only made it easier for them to manipulate the situation. It's frustrating how Phyllis is blamed for everything that goes wrong. Let's face it, Sharon knew exactly what she was doing. She was very clever in covering her tracks. She didn't want to lose her family, and that's something she said repeatedly. While she may have had moments of irrationality, she wasn't completely out of her mind. Phyllis was right to say that Sharon framed Daniel, and while it hurt Sharon's family, it's Sharon's kids who are suffering the most right now. Victor just can't help himself, can he? Always stirring the pot between Nick and Adam, and it's getting old fast. I really hate how they constantly talk down to Adam. It's exhausting. I actually had to switch the channel when I realized what was going on. Couldn't watch it anymore. And seriously, where's Adam's framed picture in the new mansion? You'd think that would be somewhere on display, considering how much Victor loves to remind everyone about his legacy. I completely agree. Honestly, I don't know who's more disgusting when it comes to the worst crimes, Victor or Adam. It's almost laughable how some of the things Victor, Phyllis, and Adam have done just get swept under the rug, whether it's Victor's baby napping or Adam's shady past. Meanwhile, Sharon's every single mistake is supposed to be remembered forever, never forgiven. The double standard is ridiculous. I'm so glad Phyllis is awake. She really adds something to the show. Now we can finally start getting to the bottom of what really happened. But we all know Phyllis will be too busy obsessing over how Diane owns Gissade while she's unemployed. And wait until she finds out Jack never actually left Diane. Earplugs required, lol. The best part is Phyllis waking up. She's definitely got every right to be furious with Chance and Sharon, though honestly, she doesn't know the full picture. Her obsession with Chance's investigation and her accusations toward Sharon are just a mess. Once this all comes to light, she's going to look like a complete fool. Phyllis never really cared about Heather, and I can prove it. Also, Phyllis' wake-up scenes were so much more believable than Lulu's on General Hospital, where she just shot up after 4 years in a coma. Michelle Stafford is an incredible actress. Was Sharon off meds when she burnt down the original Newman Ranch? Nick is so ridiculously defensive when it comes to Sharon and her meds situation. But wait, wasn't that the same excuse for her burning down the original Newman Ranch? Was she off her meds then too? What about when she tripped Phyllis on the stairs and left her lying there? Or was she off her meds when she shot and killed Cameron? And honestly, I think that one's justified, but still. Sharon is capable of murder, whether she's on meds or not. Nick really needs to face that reality, and Chance definitely needs to investigate this whole situation. As for the ranch burning, I believe that was before Sharon was even diagnosed. She hallucinated seeing Nikki and Victor calling her a loser, so yeah, meds might have been an issue back then. But the whole Phyllis falling down the stairs thing? That's Phyllis' version of events. Sharon claims she pushed her, but Phyllis always twists things to make herself look like the victim. I do believe Sharon was off her meds during that time because she told Phyllis she wasn't there for Nick when Cassie died, but she would be there for him when he lost Summer. Hello, switched DNA test? Nick didn't notice any of Sharon's bipolar episodes, though. He was too busy with Phyllis to even pay attention to Sharon's mental state. Typical. Well, I hope Chance figures out the Ian and Jordan connection. After the disaster of his arrest of Daniel, it would be nice if Chance could redeem himself by figuring out the whole Ian and Jordan link. Because, let's be honest, I actually do like his character. He just needs to stop being portrayed as a complete idiot. I have a feeling Phyllis is going to play a big role in proving Sharon didn't kill Heather. She might even spill everything to Chance about what she finds out, though let's be real, that'll only happen if something drastic happens, like if Phyllis' family is somehow put in danger again. Right now, Phyllis is too focused on wanting Sharon locked up forever. She's convinced Sharon is guilty of killing Heather, framing Daniel, and even trying to kill her. So Phyllis isn't going to help Sharon unless her own family is involved somehow. But honestly, I think Chance needs redemption just as badly as Sharon does. The way they've dumped him down lately is honestly painful. He was a special ops leader, CIA operative, and had years of military service to his country. But now, he's acting like a clueless newbie as a police detective. Come on, Josh, give Chance some dignity. Have more respect for the characters we've known and loved for years. Chance doesn't deserve this ridiculous downgrade. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree or disagree? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates. Your opinions matter, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.